Hello, everyone. This is Reagan and Corey from the Wodify team. We are back with another episode of the Wodify Insider series.
Yes, and in this episode, we are going to have a conversation with Ben Bergeron. Ben is the founder of CompTrain, and he's also the owner of CrossFit New England. Ben has coached some of the top CrossFit Games athletes, but his primary focus has always been creating programming that serves the everyday gym member.
Ben shares in this episode why programming should serve the majority of your members, not just the top athletes, and how programming in this way can directly impact your client retention.
Ben also goes into how gym owners can and should define their clear sort of guiding business values and how those values are essential for guiding your decision-making within the business and how it can lead to you essentially having a strong and aligned team.
So if you feel like you're being spoken to directly by Ben in this episode and you're looking for the type of programming he's describing, it's good to know that CompTrain is available in the Wodify Workout Marketplace. You can get this programming dropped straight into your account weekly with all of the supporting materials that Ben talks about in this episode.
All right, and without any further ado, let's get into our conversation with Ben Bergeron. All right, everybody, we are back with another iteration of the Wodify Insider series, and today we are pleased to be joined by the founder of CompTrain, Mr. Ben Bergeron. Thanks for being here, Ben.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome, Ben. Well, if you'll humor me initially here, I know the vast majority of our customers are already familiar with you and with CompTrain and what you guys do, but there may be some who aren't. There may be some who aren't yet familiar with CompTrain and who you are and what you do. So kind of give us the quick story of CompTrain, how it was founded, how you got into the fitness space, and how you kind of got to where it's become, or where it is today and what it's become.
Yes. So I didn't have aspirations or visions of being in the fitness space when I was younger. I went to school for business and started doing the finance thing. And it was when 9/11 happened, it really shook me a lot. I'm a little bit older than you guys, so I probably remember it a little bit better. But that's when I realized, like, I don't want to be at a desk. I don't want to be staring at a screen. I don't want to be just pushing zeros and around a computer. So I want to have real impact. And I thought I was going to join the military, become a firefighter, but I didn't know for sure. I took the year off and I moved to Wyoming, of all places, just kind of like find myself. And I was really into triathlons and fitness at the time. And I was like, well, I don't think I want to kill somebody. So the military's out, because if I wanted to be a special forces guy. And when I looked into firefighting, it was a lot of red tape and I wanted to control where I lived. And at that time, so many people were applying to be firefighters that they were like, we're going to put you somewhere. So I was like, what if I can have a smaller impact, but a real impact, helping people be their best versions by being a personal trainer. So I was a personal trainer for 5 years before finding CrossFit. When I found it, fell in love, like I think a lot of people did. I knew it was the thing I wanted to do forever. Opened up my gym, started competing at the CrossFit Games, started coaching other athletes at the CrossFit Games, which led to people being interested in what we were doing. So I started putting workouts up for free called Competitors WOD. Like, here's what we're doing with our competitors in our gym. I just thought it was really geared towards for our team. So it was like, instead of sending an email to everybody about here's what we're doing, I put it on a blog. And somebody one day was like, a lot of people follow that. And I was like, I don't. And they're like, yeah, I checked out. It's like, I checked out and it's like 10,000 people a day go to this website you created. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. So we did a little rebranding, put a little more attention into it. And 6 months later, it was 30,000 people. And then we started like, well, what if we did this intentionally, not just like follow along, but like train, put out good training for the world. And that spun into a business, which then led to, hey, could we do this for gyms as well? Could we do this for create lesson plans, help coaches, take some stuff off their plate, give them a way to kind of up-level their product? Can they deliver better classes, better programming, and get their coaches up to speed a little bit better? So that's where it started. That's how we got to where we are. And, we've been doing the CompTrain gym thing since about 2017. So about 8 years. Yeah, it's really good. I love it.
Yeah, and back when probably a lot of people were doing their own programming, and it takes so much time to write your own programming, that I think there was such a big market for people to be like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Obviously, he's coaching people at an elite level, and now I can, save 5-6 hours a week, like doing programming.
Yeah, we have an employee that just does programming. Like they do. I work hand in hand with him and review everything, but like he has the creative space to make it better, follow our principles better than I would. So you're exactly right. It's a job to be a good programmer. And the other part is I had some really amazing and great experience training the elite athletes for 15 years at the CrossFit Games. Lucky enough to win a whole bunch of championships, which is amazing. But I think the unique thing that we bring with CompTrain is that it's not about just programming for elite athletes. All the while, through those whole 15 years, I still coach the 830 class every day.
Mm.
So I got to see what is the cutting edge, what is the way to get people the fittest in the world, but also how do we take those lessons and put them in a way that is appropriate, in a way that can be distilled, in a way that can be absorbed and taught in a 60-minute class to busy soccer moms and dads. And that's really like, it's not about following competitors' training. We're talking about the gym sense. It's like one of the things that I feel is just kind of like, I think that people just kind of follow the trend a little bit instead of really thinking deeply about how to create a product market fit. If we were restaurant owners, I don't think we would be doing that. I think we'd be like, how can we make the food better? How can we deliver it better? I think we would all be very, very intentional with our recipes and the cooks in the kitchen delivering a high quality product. And it's just, I think we kind of get just pulled into the busyness of our lives as gym owners. And it's like, okay, just get another workout out. As long as it, yesterday we did thrusters and pull-ups. As long as it doesn't have thrusters and pull-ups, we're good. Like, it's like, we try to bring a lot more intentionality to it.
For sure. And I do a lot of like initial customer calls here at Codify. So I talk to a lot of like would-be gym owners. They're just starting this. They're trying to manage equipment. They're trying to manage a lease.
Right.
They're trying to manage construction. They're doing all of these things. And then at the end of the day, oh yeah, actually the whole point of this product is to provide high level workouts. And then they spend a ton of time going down rabbit holes to decide what type of program they should offer. And oftentimes those rabbit holes are just consuming your content or just looking at resources that you've already provided. So it's really an attractive proposition to skip that line and skip that work and that time investment. Just be like, just go to the source and have those workouts provided for you, especially as a brand new owner, because there's so many other things on your docket that, having trusted programming provided to you that people are going to get results from and enjoy is just a huge value proposition right there.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, Corey, is like, especially as a new gym owner, there's so many things to focus on. I took the 730 class today, and afterwards when I was in the shower, I was thinking about exactly what you said. I was taking a shower and there were 3 other people in the showers already. So I was like, am I going to run out of hot water? And I was like, we're not, because I can, and this is what made me think, because I remember almost 20 years ago putting in a Rinnai water heater. It's like, I never knew that I would, like, being a gym owner, that I have to pay attention to different types of water heaters.
Totally.
But it speaks exactly to your point, is there's so many things on our plate, particularly as new gym owners. If we can do something that frees up, and people go 5 or 6 hours a day, they're like, okay, that's like, that's an hour a day. No big deal. I can do that. No, it's like, it's almost a full work day. You're getting a full work day back. Mm-hmm. That's the big part. That's the huge part, is like, you think of it in terms of, after you work out and after you have a lunch break, like, if you're working 9 to 5 and you're gonna put your workout and your lunch break in there, that's a full work day. You get a full work day back. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And like, if there's a professional that's spending all of their time in their workday, like creating programming, and you're a gym owner and it's a small element of all of the thousands of things that you're managing day to day, why not outsource that to a professional who that's all that they're thinking about? They're thinking about like, what's the plan 6 months from now, 3 months from now? Like, they're not just thinking about not repeating a movement that we just did yesterday. They're thinking long term. What does this play into like Murph prep or the open? And like, how are we planning to do like a strength cycle? Like, there's a lot more planning going into it, I think, when it's somebody's sole focus.
Yeah, I think if you're a gym owner, you think about signing up for a program. I'm not necessarily saying go for ours, but I think that what is important is that what you have the ability to then do is not only go for a trusted source and one that things lines up with all the values and all the rest, but your true approach to fitness, but do you have the resources then to go to your members and explain the ethos of this program, the why behind it, and how it's going to roll out throughout the year? So exactly your point. What we do, we give people the entirety of the year in terms of the layout and the structure up front. So we go, hey, this is what we're doing spring, summer, winter, and fall. Here are the strength cycles for the entire year. Here's why we laid them out this way. Here is what we're looking for in the way we lay out our weeks, so you can see and explain why we're doing a lactic threshold workout versus a VO2 max workout. People go, well, okay, but what's the difference between those two? And you explain that one is more in the 20 to 30 minute range, which is at a lower RPE, rate of perceived exertion, does different things physiologically than a VO2 max workout, which is more in that 9 to 12 minute workout. This is what they look like. This is how they're structured. This is why we want to do them. So then we're empowering the gym owners and the coaches to turn around to their members and deliver more value and meaning and understanding to the product, instead of just this like, and today we're doing a 20-minute AMRAP. It involves box jumps, toe to bar, and clean and jerks. Like, everyone can read the whiteboard. That you're providing zero value in that. And if you get to the level where you go like, okay, and we're going to really try to work on our transitions. We're really going to, that's the next level. That's all built into all of our lessons. So like, yeah, there's like, can you deliver good workouts? And I really think that this is the big mistake individuals and gyms are doing, is they're trying to create a succession of good workouts. Like, let's make a good workout for tomorrow. Let's make a good workout after that, and then good workout after that. And when you do that, you don't have a training program. You have a bunch of good workouts. And sometimes in a good program, a certain workout might not seem that fun, exciting, or sexy, but it fits into what you're trying to create physiologically and put in there with intentional levels of intensity. Meaning, if you, one day a week, yesterday's workout for us was rowing and running. When you look at that, you're like, that doesn't seem very funny. It's not, except that when you put it and explain how it fits into the week, this is like, makes tons of sense. And then the members understand that, and the members come in and they go, oh, got it. Today's our lactic threshold day. This is the day not to go gas pedal up to the yacht, but we're going to get lots of cardiovascular benefit out of this thing without wrecking my body. This is the day to do that thing. I understand why working on that helps so much. And you start to empower coaches, start to empower your members, and it really, really makes a big difference. Not the next awesome good workout. So if we did that, we just go through all the girls' workouts and all the hero workouts. Like, it's not a program. That's just a bunch of good workouts.
Yeah, and you have like a legit reason for why you're doing something. If a member goes, I don't want to run and row, that sucks, it hurts or whatever, like, you're like, this is why it's good for you, it's in our plan, and like, you have legitimate reasoning, but to back up why you're doing that.
Yeah, you need to be able to say why you're doing something besides like, well, the level one of this would be like, we want constant variance, right? Like, okay, but that doesn't really tell us a whole heck of a lot, because, what we want to be able to do is go, okay, what we're trying to do here is work on different movement patterns, right? Yesterday, we did lower body pushing with front squats and upper body pulling with pull-ups. Front squat pull-up yesterday. You guys remember? We did that 30, 20, 10. They're like, yes, okay. Well, today we're going to be doing the opposite of that. We're going to do lower body pulling. We're going to do deadlifts and upper body pushing, push-ups. So deadlift push-ups today. That allows you to kind of keep your intensity up throughout the week. It's complementary movement patterns, not only intra-workout, but intra-day. Look, okay, I get that. Cool. I think that's where most coaches stop. It's basically they get to like, this is what they teach, because what they teach in level 1. They stop there. And then as long as you vary, like today's gonna be 7 minutes, the next day's gonna be 20, one's gonna be an AMRAP, one's gonna be an EMOM, one's gonna be for time. As long as you fall into that program, we're kind of doing the thing. What we've found is that that is scratching the surface. And if you really actually pop open the lid, you can do so much more to create so much more results for your members, which is doing things way more intentionally. Instead of just working to try to create better conditioning, you create what makes up conditioning? Conditioning is a function of 3 different categories. It is aerobic endurance, which is trained a very specific way. It is aerobic power, made up of lactic threshold and VO2 max, trained a very specific way. And it is anaerobic capacity, which is trained a very specific way. If we just stop at AMRAP 20 or 3 rounds for time, thrusters and pull-ups yesterday, deadlifts and push-ups today, we're not doing nothing, but we're probably leaving it at like a 50 or 60% of like getting your members to understand, which is awesome, empowering, and also creating better results for them. And also getting them to feel out the week to go, okay, I see, like, this is how this goes. Like, we're not just coming in and smashing our face against the wall every day, trying to go as hard as we possibly can. What was your score? What was your score? What was your score?
Yeah.
And I think, Ben, like one of the sort of objections I've heard a couple of times, maybe from like a would-be like brand new startup gym owner, is like, oh, well, I wouldn't want to use another program because like I wouldn't want to lose. It's almost like their creativity, right? Like they guess, oh, well, this is how I could put my imprint on a program. But what I really put together by hearing you say that is like, I'm sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like CompTrain is presented in such a way where like what you've done is the phasic nature of it has been accounted for, the actual long-term planning and like, hey, during this month we're going to do this. So if they want to individually change a certain exercise because they like to coach this one more than the other one, sure, go ahead, change an individual exercise because all of the fundamental building blocks have already been well thought out and accounted for with the provided program.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I first off, I don't fault gym owners for thinking that, because that's what I did, and that's what I want to do was put my own personality, my own stamp, build my own brand. I wish I had a resource like this though when I was starting off, because all I had was .com. Like that's what everyone followed. It was 3 on 1 off, and some days had 10K runs, other days had Turkish get-ups, and I wasn't doing that with my gym. So really, I did not have a training program for an affiliate because we're open 7 days a week, and I'm not programming 10K run for my members. It really wasn't an affiliate program at all. So I wish that I had something, because what I wanted to actually be able to do, which I think it helped me build my brand more than some of the other people in the space, was I took the time to explain to my members why we're doing things the way we're doing them. And that's where I took the things that I learned along the way and kind of gave it back to them, just passed it along. What we do through our program is we help you build your brand by positioning you as an expert. We're going to teach you. So by the way, that was, I laid out conditioning. There's also the same thing for strength. There's 3 different components of strength: absolute strength, explosive power, and muscular endurance, each of which is trained in a very specific way and should be trained a certain number of times each week. Then it's the same thing for functional range of motion. There is flexibility, there is stability, and there is mobility. Most people just go like, those words are all interchangeable. And like, they're very much not. Just like the word conditioning is not, It's a parent phrase for the whole thing. And once you understand these 9 foundational tenets, these 9, we call them the big 9, then you go like, okay, what we're doing is we're delivering the big 9 to you. We are delivering absolute strength. We're doing explosive power and muscular endurance. That's strength. We're doing anaerobic capacity, aerobic power, and aerobic endurance. That's conditioning. We're doing flexibility, mobility, and stability. That gives you functional range of motion. What we're trying to do is to make you fit today, tomorrow, and forever. There's such benefits to all of these things, whether you're trying to be an athlete, whether you're just trying to look good this summer, or where you're trying to force off decrepitude and kick ass in your 90s. And we go, and here's the links to the studies to help support these things. So we're kind of doing the homework for you a little bit to position you as the expert instead of just like, we make great workouts. Which I think a lot of
that doesn't set you apart from the gym down the street.
Right. Exactly.
Every gym's doing workouts, but yeah, what sets you apart? And I'd love to know, and we've talked about this, off camera a little bit, but you have a theory that I think is very accurate, that your programming has a big impact on retention. So I'd like to dig into that topic a little bit with you.
Yeah, great. So I think that we've kind of like teased that fairly well, or set that up fairly well. Here's, okay, Major said, retention. We measure retention through our churn rate. Your churn, just to kind of set that up for everybody, because I didn't know what this was when I first started as an affiliate. Your churn rate is how many members left you last month divided by the members you had at the beginning of the month. So it does not take into consideration any new members coming in at all. It is truly just a function of what percentage your membership is leaving every month. Really kind of easy way to explain that. You have 100 members at the beginning of March. You have 5 members leave during the month of March for whatever reasons, right? They're moving across the country. They get injured. They tell you that it's too expensive. Doesn't matter. Your churn rate in that case would be 5%. 5 people left of 100. The kind of easy way to think about this is 3, 5, and 7. If your churn rate is 3, you're kind of like an industry leader. That's really good for gyms in our space. By the way, every subscription SaaS model has different churn rates, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a trash removal business, churn rate's gonna be much, much lower. If you're in the B2B world, the business to business world, it's gonna be much lower. Functional fitness gyms, it's 3, 5, and 7. 3 is kind of industry leading. 5 is the average. 7 is something's out of whack. We got some work to do. Crazy enough, the reports from, and specifically inside of, is like most gyms are 7 to 10% in our space, which is like, we got some work to do. Like, you got too many people leaving. And the crazy part about this is, if I was to ask a gym member, and I do this all the time because I run consulting stuff, we call them immersion programs, but we have, I get to work with a lot of gym owners that are really eager to make their business better. And the question always is like, what are the things you struggle with? What are things I can help you with? 8 out of 10 times, it's the same. It's the same 2 answers. One is I have a hard time finding good coaches, mm-hmm. or we need new members, or we need more members. Mm. And they always say we need more members. And if I say, how do you get more members? There's a list of about 7 to 10 things they go through, which is like SEO, social media, paid ads, referral programs, guerrilla marketing tactics, all of the rest, right? It's all about the top of the funnel, awareness and acquisition. When in actuality, if you have a gym of 100 members and 5 people are leaving every month, that's a really expensive proposition to try to get 5 new members every month to come in and join. Imagine if you were able to cut that number in half. Like, just by cutting it in half, that's 2.5 people per month sticking and staying. Over the course of the year, That's an additional 20 to 30 members. Just by that, not getting any new members, not working anything, just like the normal influx, what you're doing is kind of plugging the holes for the reasons they're leaving. At the end of the year, you have an additional 20, 30 members. Imagine what that would look like over the course of 3 to 5 years. This is how you double your gym. It's not what we think it is. It's by holding on to them. Now, here's the crazy part. When we talk about holding on to them, if you were to go to most business consultants or programs, they talk about like the communication during the first 90 days. Mm-hmm. Certainly that's important. It is not nearly as important as your programming a product market fit. Is it meeting the needs and the expectations of the people walking in through your door?
Yeah, and this is your primary offering.
This is the big thing. Like people are like, oh, we're going to advertise. And it's a big kind of like pill to swallow. By the way, this is one of the 3 things. One of the, maybe 4. Because I say the first 90-day experience, the communication process is kind of like, it's got to be it's almost like it's a system that you just got to build and put it in place. It's got to be there. But the other ones are product market fit of your programming. What is truly the onboarding process? Are you getting the right people in the door? Like, how qualified are your leads? And then what are you doing with the actual onboarding of those members? We can talk about that as well. And then truly the delivery of a class experience and the programming. And I think that most people, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow that like my classes aren't as good as they could be. And or my programming isn't matching up with the way it should. So here's the case in point. We used to program for the best and scale for the rest. That's how we got to win the CrossFit Games as a gym. We were the Philly Cup champions. That's how we got to send 2 teams to a regionals. That's how we got, at one time we had 22 masters athletes make it to the semifinals. Like we had just a really competitive gym. So that it worked for that. But what it didn't work for is the retention of the 92% of your membership. Like it works really well for those 8% that are the best. Program for the best, scale for the rest. To do this, to set up a thriving, successful business, that is, I don't want to say disastrous because you can override it with other mechanisms and strategies, but if you don't really pay attention to them, it will be disastrous. Because what you'll do is you create this elite facility. Essentially what you're doing is like you're going to train people in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but it's all about like, if you're not going to the UFC, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah, I mean, you said that's 92% of your gym, and yet you're scaling for the rest. The rest is the afterthought.
Right. So instead of scale for the rest, program for the best, scale for the rest, what we've adopted is program for the majority and modify accordingly. We should be modifying for those fire breathers. They shouldn't be getting the programming. That's why, like, think of a bell-shaped curve. We should be programming for the big bulk of the majority. Like we should, if the majority of your gym isn't doing workouts prescribed, you're not programming for the majority of your gym. You're programming for those elite. And it was set up as this aspirational thing that was passed down from Glassman, and he's right. But his whole thing was like, we need to program for the Navy SEALs to be able to get everyone else to want to do this programming. If we program and set the thing up for the majority, we're never going to get the Navy SEALs. And that's what he wanted, forging elite fitness. So he was right. But we're never going to cross the chasm into the majority unless we set up a program that's built for the majority. I mean, it's like once you say it out loud, it's kind of like the most common sense thing that there is. So we've done that a bunch of different ways. So one is just obviously movement selection and loading. But the other part is like, what are people truly actually after? It's really loud in these gyms, meaning like in terms of how exciting the sport of CrossFit is. So we think that more people in our gyms are doing the sport than they actually are. But just go and look at your open registrations. If you have 100 members in your gym and 17 of them sign up for the open, that means that 83 did not. We need to be programmed for the 83, not the 17. You go, no, but then those 17 are going to leave. Yup. And guess what's going to happen? 35, 45, 50 others will join because you're making programming for them. So it's a matter of like truly like, so going back to the churn rate, we worked really hard on the other stuff, right? We worked really hard on a great class experience, a great first 90 days. We worked really hard on our onboarding process. And we got our churn rate down to 3%, which was awesome. You know, we were at like 3.5%. When we switched our programming, it went down to 1, and many months it's under 1%.
Wow.
Meaning people don't leave. Like people don't leave our gym. So I could even pull up our scorecard right now and show it to you. But, you know, for the last 3 months, we haven't had a 2%. For the last 6 months, we haven't had a churn percent greater than 2%. It's been 1 point something, and some months it's under 1.
Which is unheard of. I mean, there's so many factors outside of your control. A lot of times when it comes with churn,
we're bummed because like people do move, right? Like this is like, again, this is only taking consideration people leaving for whatever reason. Like we had a member pass away last month. That's a churned member, like totally outside of our control, right?
Yeah.
Got pancreatic cancer, and like that's so sad. Mm-hmm. But we have people that move because of work across the country. Like that's a churn member. So to have less than, you know, we have 300 members. So to have less than 3 of those a month, it averages 2. Like once people come in, they stay. And it's in large part because of those few factors: onboarding, class experience, first 90 days, and programming.
And Ben, I'm kind of taken by what you said there because I'm very lucky in Wodify. I get to talk to like a very wide variety of fitness business owners, get to go to industry events. And I was actually in conversation with one of our customers who owns a large, I guess I would say an MMA gym, but they offer like a different for, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, a little bit of MMA. And this is a pretty connected guy in like the UFC space. And I was asking him like, oh, like, do you still work with MMA fighters? And he goes, you know what, man? He's like, I used to work with MMA guys exclusively. I wanted all the pros to come to my gym. And you know what? I didn't make any money doing it. So he goes, now I do mostly fundamentals classes and kids classes, and his business is absolutely skyrocketed. So it's funny how you say that, but that's really crosses industries.
Direct parallel. Yep, exactly.
Totally.
Direct parallel. Yeah.
And then the other thing is just, I love the analogy of kind of like, you know, like I talked to a lot of new business owners and for Wodify who are just coming on board with the platform. And you're right. They're always so concerned about that top of funnel number. Like how many leads are we generating? And don't get us wrong. Obviously leads are essential, but you know, I always try to describe it as like, you've got a boat that you need to ensure stays afloat. You can plug one hole with new leads, but if you ignore the other hole, the other leak, which is your retention, your boat's still going to sink. And I think to your point, you know, that's kind of a sexy number people get obsessed with is leads and the generation thereof. But the retention is really where you grow, because if you're bringing them in just to replace the ones you lost, you're just going to remain stagnant.
Yeah. In terms of leads, that's a double-edged sword. Like, I'm not saying don't get leads. I'm not saying don't get more leads, but how qualified are those leads? How much energy, effort, money, resources, time is being poured into nurturing the leads that you have just spent a lot of time, energy, effort, money, and resources generating? Like, it's way more expensive to generate, nurture, and convert a lead than it is to keep an existing member. And this is just like what I mean by that is, if you only have, you know, let's say that your lead conversion, meaning from lead, you get their email address, a lead, right? That's what a lead is. You get their email address, and you can convert 20% of your leads. Let's say you just get, but you put them as like really high qualified, right? And that you have a very good sales process. When I say sales process, I don't mean the normal like work on your sales pitch. I mean that when they come in, they have a soft landing, meaning that this is set up for them, that it's not, you're not just throwing them into some, you know, if you were learning to surf, you wouldn't take them to the pipeline for day one. You would go in like the shallow, knee-deep things with like the little 8-inch waves and the huge board, right? And you would talk to them a lot about what this means. Like, are you creating that system for them? ... The second part of that is, and it's expensive. I made this mistake for the majority of my gym ownership. Was like, let's try to get as many leads as we can and get them in here to try the product. That all you end up doing then is now you're continuing to chase unqualified leads. Instead, what if like when you're trying to create more leads, instead of going, hey, come and join our gym, come and join our gym, come and join our gym, it was, hey, come and take 3 personal training sessions, which is your onboarding process.
Mm-hmm.
All you're doing is putting them in your onboarding process. But now those people are expecting to pay 3 personal training sessions, which is hundreds of dollars for most gyms, as opposed to when you're saying, hey, become a member, when they're expecting to pay, I don't know, $20 to $70 a month. You're qualifying them ahead of time. And here's my suggestion is, and we got a lot of this from, I want to give credit where credit's due. I got a lot we work with a 2Brain mentor, and it's a lot of this is through them. And instead, what if your onboarding process was twice the cost of your first month's membership? So if you charge $150 a month for a membership, what if those first 3 sessions were $300 a month? Not free, not discounted, like legit. And now you only get 2 people in a month, right? You only get 2 people in a month, but they stay, right? Then if that's happening, now let's have the conversation of increasing leads. But if they're not coming in and if they're not coming in to stay, we just have this, like, you're pouring water in a bucket, which has no bottom. It's just coming in and pouring right out. That's so expensive to try to keep a bucket full with running water that just drains out the bottom. It's not about putting more water in the bucket. That's really expensive. It's about kind of create the bottom so they stick and stay.
Yeah. And it all comes back, though, to that confidence in your offering, and you feel confident to charge that for a new member to do those personal training sessions, because you know that is going to be a great experience for them, and they're going to leave feeling confident about moving into the class structure. And then you're going to knock their socks off in class too. So you have to build that foundation of making sure you have like a really solid core offering that you feel confident, asking people to pay money to you for, and that they're going to leave feeling like they got everything out of it that they were hoping to.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about that, Reagan, is the person that does our onboarding process has no experience in coaching at all, in fitness coaching. She was a dance instructor before this, but she's a sweetheart, and we just gave her all of. Somebody can. You don't have to be a CompTrain gym necessarily. Go on our website and go on and just download the methodology document. If you just in your first session just talk to your members about that, maybe just like print it out and walk them through that. You're saying like you need to have the confidence level. I'm not doing these. We have a brand new person that just has no experience coaching, but we just kind of walked her through this to go like, just teach them this in your own way. And it's so like, I showed it to her twice. I was like, hey, here's how I would do it on the whiteboard. Feel free to do it your way. Don't do it like, don't try to be Ben, be you. You're way more friendly than I am. That's why you're doing this, not me. But here's the knowledge. Like, and now you have the confidence, because what I think a lot of people do is they go like, well, I didn't know I have an exercise science degree. I haven't been coaching this stuff for 10 years. I've never put anyone to the games. So I don't have that confidence level. It's like, that's why we're putting this stuff out there so that people can level up.
Yeah, you're giving them the tools to feel confident in that process. I think I'd give Healthy Steps Nutrition a little plug. She had a great intake process that when I was managing a CrossFit gym, like changed how I would do that no sweat intro. And it was just like a couple of simple questions that just made me feel like it was like basically, what are your goals? And then I would just align what their goals were with genuinely what we offer. And it just changed. It gave me confidence in what I was talking about and made an initial connection with that person. But yeah, all it was, the biggest difference was just having that tool and that structure.
Love it. Yeah. It's the best question you can ask. What's your
Yeah.
goals? Because then you can
Mhm.
steer it towards them.
So real quick, you mentioned your dance instructor background employee. Tell us a little bit about how you approach staffing, because I know that that can be a big question for gyms. Should I be hiring the person that is super passionate about CrossFit? They want to do CrossFit 6 hours a day. Is that who I should be hiring to do my no sweat intros and onboarding? What do you look for?
Yeah. So without like the maybe like the Ben Bergeron answer, which would be like it's all about character and it's all about finding the right person. The real first thing is, are you hiring them for a part-time or a full-time position? Like we have to identify that, because if they are going to be a part-time, the way we define part-time, it's just the way we do it, is that they coach a class or two, or they coach classes, and they're paid by the class, and they don't have other roles and responsibilities outside of that. That's a part-time employee. In that case, hiring somebody that is super passionate, like the person you just described, loves this thing, is a great mover, a great athlete, super passionate about it, is a incredibly personable, would be great in front of a group, is awesome with creating interpersonal connections, has a big, strong voice that can command a group without demanding it. That's probably a pretty good potential fit. If it's a full-time employee, I don't want that person that's looking to train 4 or 5 hours a day. That's just like, they need to, probably the opposite. They need to be training and taking a class. We require every one of our coaches to take class. You can't work here unless you take classes. And we're looking for people that have, it's a different skill set, and it's a different time requirement, because now you're really not just a actor on a stage, if you will. You are a part of a team, and you have roles, responsibilities, accountability, how you work with a team. Are you the person that's going to be, Hermosi's thing, which I like. He's like, during the interview process, something he used to ask people, which I love and I've stolen, is, it's 4:45 at night. The person gets done at 5:00. If I come up to you at 4:45 and your shift in your workday ends at 5, and I go, hey, I got this thing. It's going to take about 30, 45 minutes to get through. You got some time? What's your answer? If you're like, no, actually, man, I got it. My day's done. I'm kind of wrapping up. I'm out of here in 15 minutes. Cool. You're cool. I get it. But you're not, and this is where like the values things come in. You're just not a fit for us. You'd be a great fit somewhere else who really, truly values like work as a means for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we do here. And I had this conversation with them. What we are trying to do is not try to find work-life balance. What we are trying to do is find people that are so dang passionate about this that they don't even know when they're working and when they're playing. There's no difference. They blur the line between work and play, and they would rather be here than anywhere else. So if you want to punch the clock and work, the week so you can have your free weekends, I get it. It's like, but I'm just telling you right now, this can be a not a good fit for you now. So it's being very clear about those things, because you don't need that in a part-time person. The part-time person, coach your class, and then, go do your thing. Like, go walk your dogs or go do a bunch of thrusters and pull-ups. It's up to you what you want to do outside that time.
I like the way you phrase that too, Ben, because it's not this big evil thing. You're not saying like, oh, like if you're not hardworking enough to work here or something like that. No, like we have a specific set of criteria because we're trying to achieve a specific goal. If you fit in that, great. If you don't, that's great too. Just it's not going to be conducive to accomplishing what we're trying to accomplish around here. I like the way you phrase that. That's a way of screening those people without, sort of just, I don't know, making them feel less than or something of that nature. It's just, it's not a fit for this culture.
So what's happening there is, and I don't think that most people that run businesses understand that. Certainly young business owners, I shouldn't even say that. Majority of business owners don't understand that when we talk about creating values, what I just did there was an operationalized example of our values. So being very clear and having your values be very memorable, and then codifying them into your daily and your operations. So to kind of work back through that, one of our values is hunger. Hunger means work ethic. It means you want to work hard. It means you're a high performer. What that looks like is in the hiring process, we give an example of what that looks like so somebody can self-select themselves out of it. And I think what a lot of people do is they go, okay, our core values are honesty, community, fun, and growth, right? And it's like, okay, cool. That doesn't mean it. It means nothing. And people just create values because they think they need to do like this business checklist, like creating a business plan.
Yeah.
And it's not that at all. What you're trying to do is go, okay, now that we have these values, how are we going to use these to run the business? So if we say hunger is one of ours, which it is, and to us, we define it together, we created the definition for hunger, hardworking, and so on, then how are we going to put that into the business? And one of the ways is in the hiring process, you give that example. And that's one of, a dozen or infinite number of ways we try to do it.
There's so much like freedom in it too. Like one of our values here is lead like a business owner. And if you said that to somebody in the interview process and they were like, I have no interest in acting like a business owner, I just want to show up, like you're saying, clock out and leave. Like it gives that person clarity that it's not a good fit and it's just not personal.
Yeah, I think with core values too, and tell me if you agree with this, Ben, but I think a lot of business owners, like to your point, they're just like, oh, they pick kind of sort of like generic core values like honesty, do the right, integrity, do the right thing, all the ones everybody picks, right? But
honesty, integrity, teamwork. Like,
there you go.
That's it. There it is.
Can't get any more generic than those three, right? But many, many moons ago, I worked in real estate for a brief period of time, and there's this guy, Gary Keller. He's the one who founded Keller Williams. And he has, I'll equate to something he said. He talked about the same thing with agreements. He goes, anytime I have a contract, an agreement, he goes, I don't call it an agreement. I call it a disagreement, because that's the only time that anybody reads the damn thing is when there's a disagreement. And I feel like it's the same way with a core value, right? Like it's when the bullets are flying. It's when there's a challenging situation afoot. That's when they matter. When everything's great, you could have whatever core values you want. But when things aren't so great, when you have a difficult decision or a situation in front of you, that's when you really have to examine, like, what is the foundation that we're kind of built on?
I would push on that. So I think that's when they become highlighted and people go back and they help them. They should be a way for you to make decisions. But if we're only being used them, then we have not operationalized them into the day-to-day practices of the business. And all a core value is, this is why they get the eye roll moment. Because people go, core values, people go, yeah, okay, we'll do the core value thing. Like, let's break those two words down. Core, like fundamental, like the thing, like the foundation. Value. What do you value? What is important to you? So all you're saying is, what are the most important things to you? So instead of this eye roll business jargon of calling core values, what if we said, give me the 3 most important things to you in the way that you want to run your business? So for me, just kind of like pull it back to storytelling. I want nothing more. Like the thing I want more than anything else is to be a part of a high performing team of passionate individuals. That's it. Like I that's what like lights me up. I want that more than anything else. So in order for that to happen, I need to have great team players here. What do I think is a great team player? Well, Patrick Lencioni wrote a great book called The Ideal Team Player that I just stole it from. It's essentially humble, hungry, and smart people, emotionally smart. I changed that into happy because I think it's more memorable. It rolls off the tongue better. What we're looking for, the most important thing to me, the thing that's going to make me feel fulfilled at the end of my career is, was I able to build things with high performing, passionate people? What makes up those people? Ideal team players. What is ideal team player? Somebody that's humble, hungry, and happy. Awesome. How do we bring those into, if those are the most important things in the business, what do those look like on a day-to-day basis? Not just like when shit hits the fan, not just in crisis moment. That's when they get highlighted and people on the outside can see them. That's what happened with CrossFit, right? Obviously, leadership was not one of their big things because when crap hit the fan, the void of leadership was really evident to everybody. Instead, what we want to do is operation all the time. Every moment, every second, every process, like hiring, like I gave an example of, this should be like, it should be intertwined into everything. We said, again, core values. I'm putting that like an asterisk into, we said core values. The most important thing, right? This is the most important things. This is what we value the most.
I like that. I like that you highlighted a moment of crisis is when those outside the org
they see
get
it.
to see what your core values are. But
exactly.
The way to get the folks inside the org to be aware of what they are is to operationalize them. I like that. I'm gonna steal that from you.
Let's we had so many good topics today. Ben, why don't you assign some homework to everybody listening? If they have to walk away with some actionable steps from what we talked about today, can you like just kind of summarize those up for us?
Yeah, the first one I would say is, I'll try and go semi in order of the way we did the conversation. First one I would do is go and look at the CompTrain method. Not because I want you to necessarily sign up for it, but because it might give you a further understanding of what understanding your program looks like. So start there. Like, do you fully understand your product? And could you communicate it with your coaches, members, and new members? That'd be number one. Like, do you fully understand? We talked a lot about like, okay, it's not just about macro movement patterns, upper body pull, lower body push, not repeating that. On a much more fundamental level, like a deeper level, can you truly communicate what you're trying to do? That'd be number one. We really need to understand the product we're delivering. The next one would be, I would challenge people to review their onboarding process. Because I think this is where kind of like the hiring process, if you want good people, it starts with the way you onboard them. I would really strongly suggest people do 3 one-on-ones. Anything more becomes too expensive to exhaustive, probably in both definitions of the word.
Mm-hmm.
But I really believe in 3 one-on-one sessions and charging either what you would charge for 3 personal training sessions for that, because that's what you're doing, or it should be somewhere around 2x your monthly membership. And then from there, I would go to the last one we did is start to interweave what we call, this is stolen from Gino Wickman and the EOS model, Entrepreneurs Organizational System. But during the hiring process, the CEO, the gym owner, founder, whoever it is, when you're hiring somebody, gives a core value speech, which is basically essentially, I talk about 9/11, what I really want to do now, team of high performers. This is what we're looking for, humble, hungry, happy. This is what we look for. And you give the examples of 4:45, you got 45 minutes to chat. So I would say those would be the 3 kind of big homework takeaways.
And if you don't know your core values, figure them out.
Yeah. So if you don't know your core values, the way to figure them out is not go, okay, the business, what I want this. I think this is vital. I don't think this is a want or a nice to have. I think this is crucial for the success of a small business, particularly one in our industry, is those core values should just be your core values, your personal core values. Remember, I started with, I want nothing more than to work with humble, hungry, happy people. That's the thing. So if I went like, okay, that's what I want, but actually what I think it should be is humor and customer service, and it's just like, those aren't authentic to me.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be yours, so that when you talk about them, it is true passion. It is true authenticity that just pours out of you. You don't need to fake the funk or do anything else or try to remember things. You can just talk truly from the heart every single time. And small businesses don't do this enough. They go, okay, that's what I want, but you create something else. That means it's not authentic. And what you're going to then try to do is hire people that share your values. And that's how you start to spend up something really, really meaningful and impactful.
Yeah, I love that.
Love it. Well, thanks so much for being here, Ben. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your insights. Our goal with all these conversations is always to have some actionable takeaways for customers, and there's no doubt they've been given that. So we appreciate you very much for joining us, Ben. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Corey. Thanks
so much, Ben. Real quick before we go, Ben, where can the people find you and more about CompTrain?
For me, I would say just CompTrain.com. It's the same thing. I mean, I just hate pushing people towards Instagram.
Yeah. Because you have a podcast as well. If people
let's do the podcast. Yeah. Reagan. Yeah. Find me on you can find out more podcast. It's called Chasing Excellence. It's everywhere podcasts are. If you want to find out more about CompTrain, CompTrain.com, or you can just jump into the Wodify workout marketplace. Yeah. We're in there, and you kind of get everything you need through there.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Thanks so much, Ben. That was fun. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Take care, Ben.